I know we haven't spoke much about teeth and,
And
the biological
oh my God.
decoding to the dental decoding. So can you, because I know when we spoke, you mentioned about whether it was on the mother's side or the father's side. So would you share something about the teeth?
I would be glad to. Um, okay. So the teeth are very unique. And the reason I started with the biodecoding is to show you the difference in what goes on in the rest of our body versus what goes on in our teeth. Both of them involve conflicts. The body, embryologically, is fully formed within the first trimester. We've got a heart that beats and lungs that breathe. Well, not yet, but lungs that are there. And all of our parts, most of our parts are there. So it is fully functional in the womb. And you're born, and then it continues there for the most part. The teeth, we come in toothless. We don't have any teeth.
And we go out toothless as well.
And we go out toothless.
Well, some of us.
So, and as the older you get, the less teeth you have sometimes, or the less healthy your teeth are. So the teeth are different in that, yes, they record conflicts, but the teeth are the communication between your body, the outside, and the inside world. It's a communication to our brain about the conflicts that we have. And it communicates with electromagnetics. Each tooth, one tooth, will produce a terabyte of information. And each brain cell is capable of handling 4 bytes, 4 bits of information. So each tooth is connected to much of our brain, and each tooth is connected to a different part of our brain, but many, many, many little dendrites in our brain. Every other tooth, like every other finger, is polarity. We are full of polarity. Our fingers, we want to look. Ooh, I've got the wrong one. If I were to look at one finger, that's going clockwise. I look at the next finger, it goes counterclockwise. That means the polarity is one is positive, one's negative. Now it's positive. The next finger, that's negative, and that one's positive. So every other finger is different polarity. The same goes on with our teeth. Every other tooth has a different polarity. The positive pole to the negative pole. If you remember your grade school playing with magnets, you put magnets together, and if you've got positive and negative, they attract each other. This is why our teeth are every other one, positive and negative poles are upside down to each other, because it holds our teeth together, it holds the gums in, and it holds the teeth inside our body. Now, what happens when we have a conflict is we have on that energy graph, whoa, that energy level goes up because we've got some sort of issue going. We've got frustration, some emotional conflict going on, energy in motion. And the tooth is made of, not of bone, the jaw is made of bone, but the teeth are made of something called hydroxyapatite crystal. This is the same material that the body calls upon when somebody has a heart attack and it needs to repair that part of the heart that died. It makes a lattice over the top of it and makes a scar there. The teeth are all made out of crystal. And for those of us of a certain age, we might remember back to our grandmother's time in which they had a radio. Jeff, you're in radio business. That radio was a crystal set. Crystal communicates. People have crystals in their homes because they have energy. They communicate. Our teeth communicate because they have polarity. And they communicate with each dendrite in the brain, or with a group of dendrites in the brain, with electromagnetics. So when we have a stressful time, then that energy level rises above the level of what keeps us going. And our teeth, the tooth, that every tooth has a meaning, every tooth has a function. Sometimes even a face of the tooth has a meaning or a function. And that particular tooth that has that particular function is communicating like crazy to the brain, and it's over accelerated. It is frying the brain cells with too much electricity, with gigawatts of electricity. And the brain says, wait, 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 I've got to survive here. And the brain flips the polarity of the two teeth that are adjacent to each other. And what happens then is that now there's a break in the circuit. Now you can't communicate to the brain of that particular situation. And now those teeth start to separate just a little bit, just enough so that food and bacteria can get caught in there. And this is what causes a cavity. Now, most dentists believe, and have since dentistry began, is that all it takes is bacteria and food, or carbohydrates specifically, to cause a cavity. It's missing one thing. And so, consequently, floss your teeth, brush your teeth, use the water pick, keep the bacteria and the carbs out of your mouth. And yet, even when you do, sometimes you get a cavity. Why is that? Because it takes more than carbs and bacteria to make a cavity. It takes a conflict and a reversal of polarity and a space for those carbs and that bacteria to get in there, to inch away at that teeth, which has a purpose. It's the perfect biological solution. That particular tooth has that particular connection to the emotions and connection. It's all about relationships. Our teeth, I'll get to that, is all about relationships. So that particular relationship has an issue that caused it to overwhelm the brain. And so now the polarities flip, the carbs and the bacteria get in there, and we have a cavity that eats away at that tooth. So there's not quite so much crystal there. So there's not quite so much communication, and then it stops. And we get it filled, or whatever we do with the tooth. And once the issue stops and all of the excess energy goes away, and now we get the cavity fixed, the brain will flip the polarity back. And then you have a tooth that's stable. Got a old cavity in it, but now it's got a filling. So you can look at somebody's dental x-rays, especially the panoramic, and you can see the root canals and the fillings and everything else, and you can see the pain and anguish and that person has gone through, and which tooth and why. Whenever someone comes to me for a different type of healing, whether it's reconnective healing, biodecoding, etc., one of the questions I will ask on a little questionnaire is, have you had any dental issues? And if they have, sometimes in just mentioning it in association with the issue, yeah, I've got this thing that's bothered me for weeks. Wow, not bothering me now. Sometimes it can flip just like that. Just because your subconscious brain says, oh, they're conscious of the problem now, hooray. And sometimes if you don't handle the issue, or if it keeps popping up, then you end up with serious decay, root canals, etc. Again, I won't tell you to do or not have a root canal. That's not my place.
No. People have to do their own research, because we're all coming from different points of view. You know, like I can say to somebody, well, I wouldn't go down that road, but then it's their journey, and so it's not for me to say. I just say to people now, do your research first, check it out, make up your own mind.
Exactly.
Yes. So, talking of teeth, because obviously that's a fascinating subject, and I spoke to you previously, and I was saying about that they always take out the wisdom teeth. Is that a good thing to do? Because talking to somebody else a long time ago, they said that they should be left and the teeth will fit. They would all work around each other space-wise.
The wisdom teeth connect us to the wisdom of our ancestors. They also connect us to the secrets of our ancestors, whether it's lies or cheating, etc. They also connect us to tolerance and absolution of our ancestors. So they connect us to things that go on in our family and clan. On the right side, it's our clan, our father's side. The front tooth is your father tooth. Front incisor is your father tooth. And on the left side, yeah, my left, is your mother tooth.
It's
Yes.
funny because I've never, like when anything's going on, like if it's my left hand or my left knee, and I look it up to see what the issue is, what's going on there. I've never actually thought that the teeth, the left side is the feminine, and and so that's interesting. So because I have sent teeth charts to people when they say they're having toothache, and I said, well, you need to look at the emotional issue that's going on. So I usually send a chart so that they can look it up and work through that issue, like with EFT or something.
Yes, yes, yes. On the subject of the wisdom teeth and leaving them in or not, if you just want to take them out because they're have cavities or something, I would try to keep your wisdom teeth as long as you can. I had mine out when I was in college. Wisdom teeth also are your connection to spirituality. And so if you have your wisdom teeth out, it could be a good long time. Could be. Now, this isn't true for everybody because you still have the essence of the connection there. The energy of the connection there is just not a physical connection. If you have the energy, the wisdom teeth out, decoding says that this is what makes really good slaves. This makes people that will do what they're told, that don't have their own mind, I can tell you what to do and you'll do it because they don't have their own spirit, their own direction. That was just one statement. I can't say whether it's true or not.
No.
About it. Also understand that, again, you've still got the energy of the tooth that's there. It's just not totally connected to the body. So there's not a whole lot of communication going on to the brain on that subject.
Yeah, we do have an expression,
yes.
fed up to the back teeth.
Exactly. Exactly. And the back teeth, so the teeth are all about relationships. And you can see by the way they come in when you're a baby, and when they come, the first ones come in when you're up to 6 months, and the second ones come in when you're up to 6 years, and the third ones, and as you get a little older, the rest of them come in, and then your wisdom teeth come in. And that has to do with the autonomy cycles. The autonomy of knowing that I'm a me when you're born, and autonomy of your biology. Ooh, this happens when I burp, autonomy of your biology. And let me get some notes here. Autonomy of thought. When you're 6 to 12 years old, that's when you start to rebel a little bit because I can think for myself. Thank you very much. And then 12 to 18 is autonomy of choice. I choose. I can vote the way I want. I can choose to do this. And this has to do with the molars. And then 21 and to 24 years is I am. That's your identity. I'm a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker, a radio announcer. That's when you kind of have your career set out for you, or you set out on your career. So each one of those teeth has a relationship according to, or a development according to how the teeth come in. And those are the relationships we have as we get older. So if you look at the two first incisors, the mother and the father, oh, by the way, it's all about relationships. So the top row of teeth are the masculine or the yang. The lower row of teeth are the feminine. And then they're kind of separated in the middle. So on the upper right, that's masculine. So that's the archetypical father influence in your life. An archetypical father, whether you've got a real father in the picture or not, your actual father is in the picture or not, an archetypical father is the father function. So even with gay couples, there's still someone that has a father function. And with a single mother, she sometimes has to be both the father and the mother function. And that is the father function is the earner, the way shower, the protector of the outer body, the protector. And then you go over to the top upper side is the divine feminine, or the archetypical mother. And that is the caregiver, the empath, the nurturer of the spirit. And on the bottom teeth, we've got on the bottom left, or excuse me, on the bottom right, because that's the father function, that earner, that wage earner function. Again, it's the function of that, and different people segue into different functions in this day and age, but there needs to be that function, is the profession and the work. So the bottom teeth on that right side have to do with your work and your profession and your boss and your things that go on at work, or the things that you consider work. Again, this is real, metaphoric, or symbolic. So with a housewife who stays home and raises the kids, her work is her home and her child raising. So she could well have a problem in her molar on the bottom right side, even if she doesn't have a 9-to-5 job, but it's her work, her symbolic work. And when we go to the left side, again, the top is the symbolic feminine, the symbolic mother side. And you go down to the lower, which is the feminine aspect of that. Then you get into relationships of spouses and family and couples. So if something's going on the bottom left side, it very well could do to be with a relationship going on, some kind of conflict, real, imagined, or metaphorical, with a relationship. With that in mind, we live right here between the two, where they meet. And the communication that goes on between the teeth goes on between the teeth and then goes to the brain and connects the two. So therein lies the decoding of what connection this tooth has to this tooth, or this one has to this one. What are the feelings and everything involved in that? Mm-hmm. With the, I'll just say one more thing and then ask a question. So with the two front, the general incisors, the father tooth on the right, the mother tooth on the left, the teeth next to them is our relationship to father and mother. So if you get a cavity on the father side tooth on the right central incisor, but the cavity is on the tooth on that central incisor, not on the one right next to it, then that means that issue is on the father's end. The father has an issue with you and it's showing up in your mouth. If you have a cavity on the one next to it, the lateral incisor, and nothing on the central incisor, there's a conflict there and it's in you. That's very telling. And the same thing on the mother side, the conflict with mother, etc. Those 4 incisors are the central family, father, mother, child. Okay.
Fascinating. So what I want to ask.
Are you referring to numbers 7, 8, 9, and 10 at the top, are you?
That is correct. 8 and 9 are the central incisors, and 7 and 10 are your relationship to the parents.
Okay. Very good. Andrea, sorry.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people are born with a big gap, like Madonna in their teeth, and I remember somebody saying to me, "Oh, if people got that, it's really lucky." And I don't know whether that's the case or no, but because when there's such a gap like that, what does that relate to?
Well, when we go back to the polarity and the gap, this is mother and father. This is a mother and father that love each other. This is a mother and father that might love each other, but they're not quite so close as a regular family mother and father. So when there's a gap, there might be, again, real, metaphorical, or imagined. In that person, she might have observed in the formative years when those teeth were coming in, she might have observed a real big spat between her mother and father. She was only 2 at the time. She might have observed that, and those teeth came in kind of separated. They might get along just fine now. But when she was forming those teeth, she observed a little spat between mom and father. And it was so strong in her, it hurt her little child heart to where, okay, I'm going to separate those two.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Fascinating. That's sort of another subject, isn't it? Each tooth and relationships and healing them and what have you. Yeah, no, it's been really enjoyed it. Really, yeah, I don't think I have anything else to ask on the subject. So I don't know if there's anything else or any tips or wisdom in teeth or life or anything you'd like to leave us with.
Well, I'll bring in another example of the canine teeth. Canine teeth are just that. They're canine teeth. They're made to rip and tear flesh, right?
Cool.
So there was a young lady, or vegetables. There was a young lady who had canine teeth that were impacted. In other words, they just didn't come down. They were there on x-ray. They were there. They just didn't come down into her mouth. She had issues starting with her family, in which she couldn't say anything without being yelled at. And then went on to get still impacted, went on to go to college, get married, and her husband continued on that cycle and yelled at her a lot. And finally she had had enough, and she stood her ground one day and said, look, I want you to look at things my way. I want you to understand that I have rights, I have feelings, and I'm not going to take this. Please back off. Within a couple of days, her incisors came down.
Really?
That means I stood my ground. I can snarl. I can stand my ground. So here's another thing that happens with the teeth that's different than the physical body. Correct me if I've already told you that with the physical body, as we saw on the chart, the perfect biological solution could happen when it's programmed or not. It could happen when it's triggered first time or not. And it can happen triggered to something that's unrelated or not. With the teeth do not lie. They are our communication to the brain. If there's something going on, you will see it in the teeth. And it happens fairly immediately, within a few days or weeks. So for the studio audience here and for the audience out there, whenever you've got a tooth problem, step back. And you don't have to know all the decoding and the meanings and everything. That's really cool if you do, or if you find a decoder and they help you. But you're living your life. You understand what's going on. This is your body speaking to you that says, stop, step back. What's going on, either in reality, physically, emotionally, or metaphorically, or in my own head? What's going on that there's a conflict going on right now? And you've got the general mother, father, work, family quadrants. What's going on right now that I need to address, either with the person, again, it's all about relationships, with the person, whether it's at work or at home, at the PTA, whatever. What do I need to address in a kind way that is causing this? And how can I resolve this? And it just helps us make more aware that the body's speaking to us. And in the case of the teeth, it's something fairly recent. You shouldn't have to delve back too far to figure it out. Sometimes our subconscious brain will feel something when we're not conscious of it, or our conscious will be so afraid of it, or we'll have a heart wall built around it where we don't want to notice it, but the teeth notice it. The teeth don't lie. So whenever you've got something going on with the teeth, pay attention to it and try to figure it out. You don't need a biodecoder necessarily, and resolve it. And keep flossing, brush your teeth, and use your water pick.
Well, that's brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Carol. It's been an absolute delight. And yeah, I should be looking at people's teeth now. I'm getting the tooth chart out just to check things. But yeah, fascinating. So thank you so much for being our star of the show this week. And thank you once again. And